Welcome to REV'N News. I'm Mike, and this is Joe, your REV'N News hosts. REV'N News is your weekly automotive news source, delivering highlights on the latest products in the aftermarket and the industry's top movers and shakers. At REV'N News, we cover anything that revs.
And this week, we're taking you out to the Street Rod Nats in Louisville, Kentucky. In Louisville, they know a thing or two about horsepower, so there couldn't be a better place to witness the world's largest automotive participation event with over 10,000 street rods and muscle cars on display. Along with the street rods, this 4-day event is jam-packed with entertainment, including a vintage auto parts swap meet, a builder's showcase, and an indoor trade show. It's certainly a sight to see, Mike. And with all the builders and vendors there, there's nothing you won't find if you're looking for parts to build your next ride. Sherilyn Westrich and I had a blast getting to know some of these guys.
We had a chance to pop up with one of the more iconic brands in this industry. I'm sure you heard of Pete and Jake's, and I'm sure you heard of Super Bell Axle Company, and if you haven't, you need to get with it. So before we get into it, let's let Jason introduce himself to our REV'N News viewers. Jason, if you don't mind.
Hi, I'm Jason, and I'm with Pete and Jake's and Super Bell. We're a company that's been around for 41 years, and we do both chassis, suspensions, and all of the brake pieces and parts.
So Jason, we were talking earlier, we pretty much focus on 28 to 48 suspensions for Ford. That's our primary focus. Let's talk a little bit about that product line.
We do the chassis, not only just the complete rolling chassis, but we also do pieces and parts for the guys that want to do their own work or have original cars. We still offer the pieces and parts for those too.
What's new in the Pete and Jake world, in the Super Bell Axle Company world?
Well, we find ourselves sometimes always going back. And going back and revisiting things that we've done through the past, and especially with a lot of the hot rods that we do, it's always about tradition. So we're always going back to the buggy spring and the hairpins and the I-beam axles. Now there's a new insurgence of running the tube axle again with the 4-bar, where we were in the 80s. We're coming back to that again too. So,
and with the Pete and Jake line, what's the focus there, say, compared to Super Bell?
Well, with the Pete and Jake's line, we focus more on the complete chassis. Where Super Bell, we do the disc brake kits and we do the component pieces. Where Pete and Jake's offers the Super Bell pieces, but within a complete rolling chassis. And I think that's the big difference.
Folks, I know there's a lot of Ford fans out there watching. 28 to 48 Ford suspension, Pete and Jake's, Super Bell Axle Company.
I'm here with Kim from March Performance. Why don't you tell me a little bit of how you got started?
Well, it started a long time ago, just being a hot rodder, trying to find parts, and they're not available. So having a machine shop and, the ability, we started creating our own products, and from there everybody wanted them. And it was a great start, and we love what we're doing, and we've been doing it for 25 years now.
I love guys who do stuff out of necessity and it turns into their life's work. That's impressive. Well, show me a product that you think is one of the standout products that you have right now.
Okay, well, I'll show you one of our new air cleaners here. It's called Style Track, and what it was, I was just tired of going to shows and seeing round and oval air cleaners. So I said, I've got to create a different shape, and I came up with the idea, if you look here at the stainless mesh, which allowed me to form any shape on the perimeter and leave an oval air cleaner and get a whole different styling. So that's one of the things I've done, and we do, mainly we're a serpentine kit company, but once in a while I'll bounce off and do something as I feel like doing.
Yeah, I've installed a lot of your front pulley systems and they're great. It's a fantastic quality. I like the new style and I think that's going to be popular. Who's really looking at that style these days? Hot rodders, old school, new school?
Well, it's basically hot rodders. A lot of the old school are going back to the cheap
original.
Yes, and I don't know how long that will last, but
it won't last because it's not quality like the March
right.
stuff.
That's one thing for sure. But we do still have a steady flow of customers that love our product and want to go with our styles.
Well, I'm one of them, and I think that March is super high quality. I use them all the time. If you want to check them out, you're going to find they're a great product, super high quality, and now new awesome designs. Thanks for taking the time to talk to us, Kim.
Thank you for stopping by.
I want to introduce you to one of the newest, oldest companies that's been around for like 15 years. It's Rick's Fuel Tanks, and Rick had a chance to give us a little bit of an insight of what's happening with fuel delivery and his awesome new tanks. Rick, before we get into that, why don't you introduce yourself to our REV'N News viewers?
Hi, I'm Rick Guerrero from Rick's Tanks, and out here in Louisville, Kentucky, showing off our wares.
Well, you're doing a pretty good job. This booth has been packed.
Yeah, it's been pretty good show for us so far.
So tell us a little bit about the tanks. What makes them a little bit different, and what do these guys need to know, particularly our road course guys, as I understand it?
Well, I want to talk about our new Resto Mod line of tanks, and they incorporate a corner pickup system, and you can use a OE style fuel pump module. You can literally run these tanks dry, bone dry.
You were talking to me about the inner workings of the tank. Talk a little bit more about that.
They have corner pickups. They have a bracket in there, and it ties into the jet siphon on a OE fuel pump module, and they open and close depending on the presence of fuel. So it's a lot more than just a little baffle tray or trough that goes in some of your normal stamp tanks.
You know, as I look outside, there's a lot of show cars, 100,000 cars all full of chrome that they're really not driving too much. There's also a growing segment of guys that are actually putting those cars through the paces, and that's where fuel delivery is really, really important. And I think that's one of the highlights of your product.
Yes, it is. We do show tanks that are made out of stainless, and then our new stamped line, which is premier performance and budget friendly.
Well, the popular Optimus Streetcar Challenge series, in fact, we were just talking to Brett over at Ride Tech. That's a really growing segment, and I would think that those guys that are competing in those series are going to want to find out a little bit more about Rick's fuel tanks. Check them out.
And I'm here with Danielle from McGuire's. Everybody knows McGuire's. Please tell us a little bit about your company.
Well, we've been around since 1901, and we actually started off as furniture polish. So a lot of the cars had wood pieces, and that's how the McGuire's brand started. And then as the cars became metal, that's how we became more of the polishing for metal now. So,
well, I know you guys as the company that pretty much gives you anything for any sort of polish, cleanup job, anything on your vehicle. Tell us, what's the game changer right now?
Well, right now we have a great two-step product called Perfect Clarity Headlight Restoration Kit, and it's a game changer because, as we know, with the winters, the harsh winters, you can get lots of oxidation and yellowing in your headlights, and they're pretty expensive to replace. So this year we've come up with a great product. It's easy to use, it's in 2 steps, and it brings back the total clarity in your headlights.
That's amazing, because I know when I'm driving on the street, that's everybody's problem. Who's buying this product right now?
Well, it's just the do-it-yourselfers. It's the people that they care about the car hobby, they want to do it themselves, they take pride in upkeeping their car, and they're into restoration, and that's exactly the customer that this is that we had in mind when we developed this product.
So everybody from late models to street rodders into
absolutely.
McGuire's.
Absolutely. Anybody who loves cars loves McGuire's.
So what product don't you guys have? You have everything. Kind of tell us, you do leather cleaning, what else?
Yes. So we do car wash, paint cleaning, polishing your car, waxing your car, and then just maintaining that look. So we pretty much carry anything and everything for your car, exterior, interior.
So anything that you're looking for,
Yes.
whether it's cleaning, polishing, interior, you're going to find it at McGuire's. Thank you for taking the time to talk to us.
This is the Murphys, and you are watching REV'N News.
Hey, this is Cheryl Lynn from REV'N News, and I'm at the Street Rod Nationals here in Louisville. I'm standing here with Tyler and Jean in front of this beautiful 55 Ford. Tell me a little bit about this car.
Well, this car is a 4-year project. We initially started it, grandfather and I. We set the body on the Art Morrison chassis, put the Coyote motor in and the transmission, did a little floor work, and then we shipped it up about 20 minutes from our house to Dave from Dave's Hot Rods, and he did all of the metal fabrication for us and did all the paint and body work and the interior. So he spent about a little under 3 years finishing it for us, all in this shop.
Well, Jean, tell me, what was it like working with your grandson on a car?
It was great. It was a big help, and we kind of worked on it like people go golfing, on and off, and we enjoyed working on it. So it's basically what it was, an enjoyment of doing it.
Do you think that Tyler's going to end up being a legend in the car world?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, he's pretty good?
Oh, yeah.
All right. So Tyler, how was it for you working with your grandpa?
Oh, it's a pleasure. We're always out in the shop or working on something, whether You know, whether it's just fixing something or we always get a project going on, and one of mine, or it's just a lot of fun being around them, and really enjoy going to the shows with them.
Well, you have a beautiful car. You know, I love seeing young people getting into this industry, so thank you, Gene, for bringing Tyler into it. It's really special to see the two of you doing something together. Gene, Tyler, this 55 is spectacular. Thank you for showing me the car.
You're welcome. Thank you.
I'm talking to Lee. I want to ask you about the beautiful car behind us.
Well, it's an original Henry Ford all-steel 34 Ford. So I looked a long time for one that hadn't been molested, so to speak, because everybody wants to chop them. I wanted to kind of go with a retro look, so we looked and looked, finally found a nice body, and started collecting parts and buying stuff, and so began the process of the 7-year project.
Just like everybody, 7 years, 10 years, that's great.
Yeah.
So how many of these have you built?
None. I'm actually a bricklayer by trade, so we have long winters in Canada. So guess where I'd go? Down to the garage, and there I would stay for about 4 months. So consequently, that's why it took so long. And not being wealthy by any means, I also had to do it on a budget, so as we could afford it, we'd buy parts and keep on going, you know. It all started with a TCI chassis. That was my first piece that I bought, and then the Roush engine, and on and on and on, and we created what you see behind us.
So this is a frame-off restoration, ground up?
Yep.
And did you have any help on this build?
2 other guys helped me. Both of them retired, both friends of mine. The auto body fella, Ron Martin, he was 70 years old. Originally I intended on doing this myself, and after I was into it for 3 or 4 days, I soon realized I was over my head. So I phoned up Ron one night and I said, Ron, help. Okay, he says, I'll be down. So anyway, he had about 600 hours worth in the car. I did some small stuff though. I did paint taillight stands, steering column, brackets, and this and that, but the basic body and the body work and the painting, Ron handled that. The other friend of mine, he was 80 years old. He's a retired upholsterer, and he came to my house, and I helped him with the headliner. I basically did the trunk all myself. Otto Seringer is his name. He stitched up the seat, so the whole car was done entirely at home. Never left the house for anything. So that's kind of unique. I mean, some people claim that, but...
Hey, it is great, and I love builds that are done with you and your buddies.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll call it a buddy build.
There you go.
Yeah?
Just the 3 of us, that's the only people that ever touched it.
Well, Lee, you have a beautiful car. I love the 34. I think you should build another one.
Oh, yeah. I don't know. I said when I got this done, I'm thinking, no, that's enough of that. But you know what? Since that, which was about a year ago now, I have acquired another Model A. I already have a Model A, and now I've just been out and bought another one. I'm thinking about maybe getting back into it, because like I say, we have long winters. Need something to do.
Well, it's your first car. It's a great car. We look forward, Lee, to seeing your next build.
Well, thank you very much.
All right, it's Sherry with REV'N News.
Hey, this is Sean. You're watching REV'N News.
Hi everybody, this is Joe from REV'N News, and we're here with a good friend Brett with Fat Man. You know, this booth continues to be packed with people. I see your product on a lot of vehicles. I'm proud to say that I've got it on my 51 Chevy. Do me a favor before we get started, introduce yourself to our REV'N viewers.
I'm Brent Vandervoort from Charlotte, North Carolina. I own Fat Man Fabrications.
He does, and many people have made that stop at Fat Man. I was looking at all the different product line, and it seems as if those 50 style cars are starting to get the attention.
Oh, sure, and we make parts anywhere from updating the original suspension to replacing it completely, and in some cases to a complete new chassis. I'm doing my own 56 Vicky over again, and I drove it for 10 years with drop spindles and disc brakes and a rack kit. Now I'm ready for a complete new chassis and a 4.6 mod motor.
Let's talk a little bit about the benefits of those 50 style product offerings that you have.
Well, I think those are reasonably good highway cars as they are. They're pretty good 60-mile-an-hour cars. And if you want to pretty much stay within a couple 100-mile radius from home, you can update the original and have a nice car really affordably. And let's face it, affordability is an important thing for a lot of people today, particularly to bring the young people in this market. You know, it's hard for a guy to step up and drop 80 grand on a 32 Ford when you're raising a young family. So these 50s cars work really well for that, and then as time and need allows, well, you can upgrade the car to the next level, and then you got a great 80-mile-an-hour car.
You've been around the show for a couple days. Anything particular get your attention? Have you had a chance to check out the cars?
I got to tell you, I haven't been more than 100 feet from this booth. We have so many friends and customers. Customers become friends, coming by, reacquainting ourselves, answering questions. We do a lot of tech support for people that don't necessarily even involve our product, but we're happy to do that.
Yeah, in fact, I think I've been the recipient of that good advice. Well, look, if you've got a 50-style car or truck like I do, and I'm happy to say, and it looks like plenty others are out there, check out Fat Man. Brett's here to give you not only great products, but great advice.
Hey, this is Cheryl Lynn from REV'N News, and I'm here with Danny from Steel Rubber Products. Danny, tell me a little bit about Steel Rubber Products.
Steel Rubber is a company started actually by my grandfather in 1958. We've been making rubber parts for Cadillacs, Chevy, Ford, Chrysler, Packard for a very long time, and we try to do it the right way, the first time.
And give me an example of something that's really a game changer in the Steel Rubber line.
Right now, what we're offering is custom catalogs. So we can actually customize a catalog so it's specific to a vehicle and the customer and what they need, so they don't need to go around all over the place trying to figure out what they have. We can just figure out the parts for them when they need it.
Okay, so that simplifies everything for the customer. If you have a Ford or a Chevy or whatever vehicle you have, you just customize what you guys have for that vehicle?
Yeah, you give us a call or go online and you can just put in the vehicle that you need, and everything that we offer for will come up from the chassis parts to the windshield gasket.
Well, that sounds pretty good. If you want something simple and you just want to handle all of the rubber products on your vehicle, I know these guys do it right because I've used their product, and now you know where to go. Steel Rubber Products. Thank you for hanging out with us.
Thank you.
Having a good time here at the Hot Rod Show in Louisville, and we had a chance to run into our buddies over at QA1 and meet up with our buddy Damien. Damien, go ahead and introduce yourself to some of our REV'N viewers.
Hi, Damien Braze. I'm fitment technician at QA1.
Hey, for QA1, you guys must understand that these guys are the shock experts. So much of the participation at these events is based around driving your car. The days of driving a mile to your local fairgrounds and parking, that doesn't really happen all the time now. You have events like AmeriCruise and the Hot Rod Power Tour where you're actually driving those cars. Shocks and comfortability and suspension are very, very important, especially to these street rod guys. Damien, tell us a little bit about what's happening with QA1 and your shocks.
Well, we've got our new Hollywood Hot Rod series, kind of give that traditional look with modern valving adjustments, so you get the good ride quality and you still have that traditional look. We've also got our Mustang 2 Pro Coil systems, so designed to bolt in place of a factory spring and a Mustang 2 suspension. Pretty easy install, uses factory hardware, bolts right in.
Now, when you're talking about shocks and the internal workings, you've got that piston inside there, right? And that length of that piston. Talk a little bit about the inner workings of that shock.
With the shock, you want to make sure that you have enough travel in the suspension, so you're not bottoming out or topping out. And that's where a lot of street rods run into trouble. They're not built with the shock length in mind and the suspension in mind. So you want to definitely make sure that you have that correct. With our adjustable shocks, you can tune the valving. There's a little bit of a little dial on the bottom. It's kind of hidden, so you can get in there with a screwdriver, and it's a very low profile setup, so it just doesn't stand out.
Talk a little bit about the fact that this is, although it's a bolt-in, there's still a little bit of tuning that you could do, as you mentioned. What type of technical assistance do you provide your customers?
We've got a full tech support team, open Monday through Friday, 8 to 5 Central Time. So if you got any questions on tuning the shocks, give us a call. But as far as tuning, knob on the shock, turn the dial, and we can get you in the ballpark as far as where to start, but it really comes down to personal preference, and just turn the knob, get it dialed into your personal preference.
QA1, high-performance suspension components. If you're thinking about building that vehicle and you get to that point where you're thinking about suspension, think QA1.
And I'm here with Jeff from Kugel Components. This is a family business. Tell me a little bit about Kugel.
Okay, it was started by my dad, Jerry, in 1969. He came up with putting independent suspensions in street rods. He started from there. About 25 years ago, my brother and I joined along. We've been doing it ever since. We've got a full line of fully independent suspensions for street rods, from Model A's all the way up to 57 Chevys.
Okay, what's the game changer that you guys have?
The game changer we're doing now is more than ever we are building independent suspensions without all the polish and chrome that we used to. Years ago, if don't go chrome, that was kind of the motto, no matter what. Well, in the last few years, it's kind of changed a little bit. Now we call it all business. We're not doing all the polish and chrome anymore. We're powder coating a lot of parts, and we're just leaving them clean. We're doing that, and that saves a lot of money during the build, and it just gives you a little bit more subdued look without going crazy.
Great. So if you're a street rodder or you're all business, check out Kugel Components. Family business, great guys. Thank you for talking to us.
Thank you.
Well, that wraps up this episode of REV'N News.
And if you just can't get enough of cars, trucks, Jeeps, shows, parts, and products, then keep tuning each week to REV'N News.
And we invite you to follow us on Facebook and check us out on YouTube. Thanks for watching.
See you next time.